Welcome to Waiting on the Trade, a comics book club for people who can't keep up with monthly comics. I'm Matt Ledger.
I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck.
And I'm Kathryn Prince.
This month, we're talking about A Guest in the House, the most recent graphic novel from horror cartoonist extraordinaire Emily Carroll. Now, in case you need a refresher, A Guest in the House is the story of Abby, a woman who has recently married a dentist named David and become a stepmother to David's daughter, Crystal. As Abby adapts to her new life, she strikes up a surprising connection with David's first wife, Sheila. But at story's end, we find out Abby's connection to Sheila, and much of what we've seen on the page may not be what it seems. Hard one to sum up succinctly, guys.
Did you write that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. I thought maybe you got it from the cover.
No, I write all the synopses myself, because sometimes I make snarky remarks in them. Not this time, though. There was too much actual work to do.
Yeah, I was just like dancing around all the... I guess this is one wherein spoilers will occur.
Oh, I mean, they all are spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, this one especially, though, if it's just like I'm halfway through it situation, then read the ending first.
Yeah, back out. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not too late.
Kat spent her couple hours post-work, pre-podcast recording, hunting for clues today to piece together how the ending all fits together. So I'm excited to talk about this one. But Kathryn, welcome back to the podcast. Glad to have you as always. Thank you. I am stoked to finally be talking about an Emily Carroll book with you and Patrick on the podcast, because I feel like you and I, Kat, talk about Emily Carroll stuff like decently often, actually.
Yeah, kind of surprisingly frequently.
Yeah. And I think, like, you tell me if I'm wrong on this, but like probably one of your favorite cartoonists / storytellers / artists.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess, yeah.
Why is that so?
I was just thinking about the storyteller's part, because it's like, oh, wow, that includes all of fiction, and like suddenly the field gets way bigger. Oh yeah, and movies, blah. But yeah, Emily Carroll just has really interesting mixes of, an incredible grasp of color and flow in comics. And I gave you guys a couple of my favorite of her webcomics to really see her flexing. Because I think the web medium is more like it gives you more that you can do with it than you can in a book, and she takes like full advantage of that, and it's really cool, without resorting to like literal jump scares.
Which, like, quick diversion on that, actually. The two you had us read, which were The Prince and the Sea and Hotel... Oh, you know the name of it. Hotel something or other.
Oh, shoot. I don't have it up in front of me, but yeah, Hotel they're just on her website. The
Wellington, maybe? I'm
oh
pulling
my
up
God.
Worthington.
The Worthington.
Worthington, yeah.
Yeah. So you sent us those two. I really like both those two, and they do really neat stuff. You didn't send us the one where the ads on the page literally become like horror ads in the middle of the comic.
I didn't remember that happened.
Which is like one of the coolest goddamn things I've ever seen in a webcomic.
The spam pop-ups on the sides, like she has, like they look real, and then you get to the end and they start getting really freaky.
Yeah, so
I forgot about that one. Which one is that?
Like, I don't remember which one it is, but like they look like real ads on a web page, Pat, and like as you're reading the comic, they become just like part of the horror story. Like they become like scary ads. Like, it's such a great use of webcomic stuff. But
yeah, like I could have done more, but I was like, oh, yeah, I'll just pick my favorites. Like I really like mermaids, and I think the like what is it, thessalophobia or something? The fear of the deep is really cool. So I like the Prince in the Sea. Like that's probably my favorite thing that she's done, actually, just because I like mermaids, especially spooky ones. And I think the Worthington was just like a really cool example of how it doesn't have to be a narrative to be a good webcomic.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's so many other ones.
So digression aside for the moment, what made you want to talk about this book specifically for the podcast, A Guest in the House?
Well, it is, I mean, on the one hand, it is a timely book that just came out, so it's something that you'll see in bookstores right now, probably. But also, like, what the hell is going on with the ending is I just needed someone to figure that out with. So I read through it when I got it for, I think, Christmas? And then I just read through
That was
it.
your birthday, actually, I
My
believe.
birthday, yeah. Same thing. And and then again, just like looking for clues to try to figure out what's going on. And I have like a whole list of weird clues that kind of look like, when a crazy person just like writes a bunch of stuff on the walls and you look and you're like, what is all this?
That's
This is what
a
my
murder
notebook page
board is the
looks like.
technical term.
Yeah, it's kind of a murder board. Well, without any of the string.
Yeah, no
But
strings.
yeah,
In this
I've got a bunch
economy,
of
come on.
clues. I don't know what they mean.
We don't have time for strings. We got pen and paper. No, I've got like, so I went through it yesterday because I knew you'd be going through it today, and I've got like 6 like half-size notebook pages of notes, also just pulling together
Jesus.
different stuff because I think we spent like an evening talking about the ending of this the first time both of us read it. Like you read it, and then it took me a while to get to it, and then I think we like spent an evening trying to figure out what the heck was going on.
Was it? I feel like there was so much time in between that I had forgotten some stuff, and I was like, "Wait, which one's Abby? Who's she?" Okay,
Yeah, it
but yeah, so
definitely
it'd be
was
good
one of
to like.
those.
It is fresh. Pat's fresh takes, hot takes, fresh
Yeah,
hot
Yeah.
takes.
Pat's got stuff pulled in. I'm seeing screenshots and screenshots
Oh
and
yeah, Pat
screenshots of
came
pages
ready.
in the recording channel, so I'm pumped. Let's talk
And these
about this book
screenshots are
together.
that's what also appears in my notes for some of them. I should have thought of doing screenshots. That would make a lot more sense. So yeah, we may have similar things to say.
It
I'm
looks like we
psyched.
do for sure.
Mm.
Pat, how did you generally find the book?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Horror's not really my go-to, but yeah, I appreciated it.
So I like that this is more of, and like most Emily Carroll stuff is more of like a creepy, unsettling, slow burn, ambiguous horror as
Mhm.
opposed to like I'm scared, I'm
I would
scared, I'm
contest
scared.
that. I think most of her stuff isn't ambiguous. There's a couple that are, but I think most of it is more almost like a fable sort of
Yeah,
setup.
ambiguous might not actually be the right word. I might be thinking of like my thoughts on the ending and transposing that word in, but I'm thinking of like the part in Through the Woods where like the Little Red Riding Hood stand-in is like walking through the forest, and the forest is like just looks like a normal forest, but also it's got like these weird like half images of wolves all through it if you like look carefully, like that sort of thing where it's like it's not like the story is directly attacking you in the way that like we were talking about those Korean web comics where you just scroll down the page and then it's
Jump
like ah!
scare.
I didn't
Yeah.
actually mention that was a Korean webcomic thing, but yeah.
My students showed me so many of those when we taught English in Korea. Like
Yeah.
it's not that sort of thing. It's more of like a feeling of dread, like ambiguous fantasy horror than like a direct attack you in the face sort of horror.
Mhm.
There's a build up, and there's definitely a lot of sapphic imagery in a lot of her stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I made us not do discussion questions for this one, which I feel like puts it on me to drive the discussion a little bit. But like, I didn't want to, especially recently. I feel like we've like been a little limited by the discussion questions. Like I felt like we've gone off on a track, and it felt like it didn't quite fit, and we didn't quite get the conversation to go where it wanted to.
So
I
now
wanted
we
to
have murder
especially
boards instead.
especially for this
Compare
one.
murder boards.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I knew we were going to have murder boards, and I didn't want to get into it with like, oh, we have 3 specific questions, and we're going to discuss them, and then like we're going to peel off into like digressions and like putting clues together, and like does this photo look the same on this page as on this page? Which Cat and I disagree about. So Pat, you can solve an argument for
Oh
us later.
Jesus, Pat, your screenshot. I just found the others you posted. Like these are all things that yeah.
So I think maybe we can start with actually high level. Like, do you guys feel like there's a theme to this book? Because when I was going through it yesterday, I feel like I pulled out what I think is the theme of the book. And
Oh
I'm
yeah, there's
curious.
definitely a theme.
Okay, so
Never
what's your
marry a dentist.
Dentist, not even
Don't do
once.
it.
Oh my god. So like there's a scene where David says, "Being with you makes me feel like I can be who I truly am." And I'm like, "Wow, dude, that means you're a big old dick." Is who you truly are, because like you just it's such a weird marriage.
I'm so glad I get to be a big old dick with you, honey.
Be an asshole.
When he mixes up Abby's name and Crystal's name when he's
So
talking about the
creepy.
parent-teacher conference thing, it's like,
A little weird.
okay.
I was saying to Kat though, it's not like anyone ever transposes any of our names.
I mean, just
Sure.
the fact that he was equating their names is a little bit
It's a
creepy.
little
Yeah.
creepy. Yes,
I
it's
mean,
like,
and if
oh,
you
you're
want to
just
give somebody serial killer vibes, just give them
The
those
glasses
those
and the
1980s style
mustache.
glasses where you can't see their eyes. Ugh.
But backing up a minute, what did you guys actually pull out like a theme to this book at all? Like a high level theme, or
My
is
theme
that
wasn't good enough. Okay.
we need to go
Um,
very dentist? You know what? We solved it. Podcast over. Book were assembled. The whole book was actually just a secret code that says go marry a dentist.
oh, let's hear
Uh,
Pat's first.
I mean, the whole thing is sort of the toxic relationship that Abby has with her perceived, like what she perceives to be the perfect feminine, like picture of what it means to be feminine is what I interpret as what has driven her to
Oh,
this.
It's definitely
So
part of it.
that's
I guess
interesting.
that's what I'm like. I think it's her struggling with the fact that she doesn't match up to what she considers to be a perfect feminine form. And I think it's also her struggling with her sexuality. I think it comes in there too.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Like there's a couple things on that actually, and one of them ties in with one of the images you've screenshotted and put in front of me here. Like when she goes to get a haircut from the other dentist wife who is not named, and it's
Wait, that dude's
specifically
a dentist?
They're all
yeah,
dentists.
I think
They're
they're all
all
theoretically dentists,
oh my
though they
God.
might also be counterfeiters. We should talk about
Uh,
that when we get to
I missed
it.
some clues.
Um, when she goes to get a
Counterfeiters.
haircut from the other dentist's wife, who is specifically not named, she's specifically called other dentist's wife, even by Abby in the text, which is again like very telling to me about like where women
I
are
thought you gave her a
positioned.
name.
I don't think so. I specifically wrote down his wife. It's on my fourth page here somewhere.
Brad.
I know
I'm
my
pretty sure
Mm,
his name
mortarboard
is
is too
Brad.
complicated. Mr. Brad's wife. Yes.
all right.
Just
Um,
Brad.
but she is just Brad. Um, she gets the same haircut as Beth slash Sheila. Like she gets the same haircut that Beth had when she came to her house because like she wants to be that perfect wife that she thinks Beth is, even though they've only met for like 2 seconds. So like you're definitely onto something there, Pat. With like she's trying to find this form, right? Like she talks about how becoming a wife gives her a shape, and that like
Yeah.
the very cool, creepy panel where she's going from an amorphous blob into a spiky
Well,
knife.
yeah, she now knows like she can't the urges that she may feel when she sees a beautiful woman, she can't act on it anymore because she's married. She can't do that anymore. So she has
Yep.
the excuse to ignore it.
Yep, I am wife now. And
Yeah.
like when she's discussing her marriage right away too, like you notice that the first thing she talks about and that she likes is like the concept
Making
of
coffee.
being married. Like I'm
Yeah.
a wife, I'm pouring the coffee, blah blah blah. My stepdaughter, I might love her. I kind of like my husband. Like she doesn't like the people she's entered into a relationship with. She likes
She
being
likes
married.
everything having its place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like the line about the nooks and crannies in the house is very telling to me. Like that's very symbolic to me. This felt very like college English class to me picking this thing apart. I think it's very layered on purpose, which is kind of nice.
I think it's kind of about depression. Like she's
Yeah.
very obviously depressed. She just doesn't have any joy that she takes out of her life. Her only things that she likes are the color pages that are like the stories and the imagination and this ghost that may or may not be real.
And
Like
like all of
everything
that
that's
is not
interesting in
real
her
stuff,
life is
right?
made
Like
up. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like
So it's
so
just
much
like it's
of
all
the
this
story.
isolation. She had like a shitty mom, her sister died. She's in
Mhm.
this like just kind of numbing marriage. It's just I guess a whole other layer of horror that isn't horror. Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like, spooky horror, but just existential dread
Yeah,
sort
it's
of
not
thing.
ghost
Ugh.
horror, it's real life horror. It's like, "Oh, I'm stuck in this thing that I don't wanna be in, and I don't really know how to I don't know how to get out," and also I feel like I have to conform to it. Like, not only do I not wanna get out, I wish I didn't feel this way.
Mhm.
Neither of those is the thing that I was thinking about,
What's
though.
your thing?
So, I
Theme.
just, like so much of the book to me is about how you can't truly know another person, like, even yourself, and I feel like that like those disconnects are how the ending kind of sneaks up on you too, of like, oh, this is what's actually been happening the whole time, but like because we're seeing everything through Abby's head, and Abby's imaginings are so fantastical all the time, and like I don't even know if there's a ghost in this story, you guys. Like I don't think there's a real ghost at all. We can talk
Yeah,
about
I
that
feel like
later.
it's kind of like a Kafka the Metamorphosis thing, where some people are like, "Oh yeah, it's an allegory for stuff, and he's having a psychotic break," and other people are like, he's a bug. What do you mean? He's a bug."
I mean, I think it
It's like
works
that.
either way and could be either, and that's kind of cool. Although at
I'm
the
just
same
gonna
time,
say
yeah.
I'm in the he's a bug camp of the Metamorphosis, and I'm in the there is a ghost camp of this.
All right,
You
we'll
think
talk
there is
about.
one? Interesting.
Hmm.
I want to talk specifically about the drowning scene then for sure. But before I get into before we get into that, like so much of the book is Abby project. Like so, Kat, you and I talked about this I think earlier. Like Abby talks to Crystal about her mom showing up, and Crystal says nothing about a ghost until prompted. Absolutely
Yeah, she's
nothing.
like, I guess it's a go.
She's
No.
like, my mom showed up. She looks different. She came out of the water. And it's
Which
like,
is also kind of weird though, that this lady, this middle-aged lady is just like swimming up to the dock
well,
from next
this is my
door.
theory. She's like, she is living in that house that no one lives in. Like it's an abandoned house. She's just living there, and she's swimming across the lake to go into their house and like visit their daughter. And at
She's
one
next.
point, David's like, "How did this mug get on the dock?" Sheila took it out of their house and was drinking from it on the dock before she swam back to the other house.
Wait, really? I thought
Like,
Abby just had it out there.
I don't think
Oh,
so. That's my
oh,
theory, at least.
sheesh.
Oh, you think Sheila was literally visiting Crystal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. She's like, she looks different. Well, yeah, she does look different. She looks way the fuck different from the last time Crystal saw
Yeah,
her.
I mean, like when she sees Abby in the car and she's like, "Where are you going?" She's like, "I'm going to town to get my roots dyed." So that lady dyeing her hair, and
Oh
you
yeah,
just assume
definitely,
it's
right?
because she's like older.
Yeah, so there's that disconnect. There's the disconnect where, so like getting into the part about David eventually drowning slash being drowned, like he and Abby are talking about like why he doesn't like water, and she's like, "Can you swim?" And he just basically tells her like, "I'm just, there's bodies in there," and like that dude can't swim. Like he just doesn't tell her that, and like he doesn't want her to know the truth about that because that would make him like less manly. And so in that scene where like according to what we see on the page, the ghost is helping drown him. Like, I'm pretty sure that dude just can't swim. He was drunk and fell in the water, and then his wife drowned him. It was real easy because he's drunk and can't swim.
Maybe. Yeah, the
Yeah, man.
bodies thing
There's
was
a
kind
lot.
of weird because he was like, "I don't want Crystal to go in that body of water, but she can swim in this one," which also is like, if that dude did like, well, no, because he wouldn't have killed his wife there
He
because
can't. He
they
didn't
moved
kill his
across
wife.
the
His wife
country.
shows up at the end,
Yeah, that's the thing. I
right?
think we
Like,
can all agree that Sheila is the weird lady that keeps popping in and
Yeah.
not the ghost. The ghost is not Sheila. The ghost is something else.
I mean, I think the ghost is just Abby's imaginings of what she wants
I'm
Sheila
not
to
sure
be.
that's true.
And
I
like
mean, she's seen
that
the
also
ghost
plays in my
in.
theme of like she sees all these weird, like she sees this picture of Sheila. She remembers that picture differently later on, which this is the argument Kat and I have of like
No.
the it's
Look, dude,
really
women have curves, and in different poses, we look slightly different. It's
but
not.
that's not it. It's the same photo remembered differently. It's like showing the
Yeah, it's
fallibility of
showing her
memory.
face.
Yeah, it's the same photo and it's got her in a completely different pose where her entire face appears and she's prettier. Like
No, she's not prettier. You were saying she like gained 7 pounds or something, and I was like,
no,
what?
she's skinnier in the
No,
second
she's
version of the
not.
photo, and you
No,
can
she's
see her
not.
entire face when you can't see it in the one that Pat has posted in the recording chat
The
here.
face, yes, absolutely. The like 7 pounds of difference, no.
I
She
I
is,
mean,
she
contest
is
that.
more shapely.
aha, aha.
Uh-uh. Are you
Are you
looking
talking
at the
about
right word?
I the right word?
The
I don't
right
know.
word, the right page.
I honestly don't know. When she appears in Abby's imagination in the tower that she rescues her from.
Okay, you know what she looks like in that tower though? This is my theory is that Abby kind of sort of has a crush on her older sister.
Yeah, I think
Like
she saw her
realized
older
Oh,
sister as the
that's
perfect woman, as this is what an attractive, beautiful woman looks like.
Yeah.
And that's the image that she's now.
Yeah, and like her older sister is the one who can like face
Like,
down the old dragon, right? Like
the hair that lady has in the tower, which Pat just put in the chat here, is her sister's hair. It's got those like curls. It's
This
not
is what I'm
because
saying.
Lisa's in the picture is straight.
But it's Sheila's shirt. So like she's misremembering stuff, she's conflating stuff. Like she's making this idealized version of this person that is neither of the two people that she's
slightly thinner than Sheila's photograph that she finds in
yeah,
crystals.
and the same thing happens later when Abby remembers what the photo of Sheila is supposed to look like. She
I
puts her
don't.
entire beautiful face in there, and she makes her this skinny as opposed to what
She's
she actually
not
looks like.
fat in the
I
first
didn't say
We're
one.
not
fat.
saying
She's
she's
not saying
fat.
fat.
she's
We're-
wearing
No
a
one-
crop top. You just see more of her.
We are absolutely
Look, yeah,
not calling her fat.
no one's saying fat, but if you compare the lines in the photo or the image that Pat just put in the
It's
chat,
a more conventional
they're
looking beauty
smoother.
than it's different.
I got it. Where's the page with the original photo?
I posted it up above.
Oh, no, that's the end one.
No,
That's the end
Sheila at the game is the one. That's her taking the photo underneath.
Oh, I thought
Crystal's
the one you
photo.
just put. Okay,
No.
wait.
No, that's the
Scrolling.
imagined picture.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, there she is. Okay.
She's just ever so. She's not fat. She's just.
No one's saying fat.
Actually, yeah, you might be right.
Thank you.
Huh. Okay, so it's possible though that Abby is haunted and the ghost is just whatever she wants to see. That's how she sees it. And this is something Pat put in the chat also with the images, which I guess I'll stop alluding to that because no one else can see the chat.
Screenshot the entire chat.
But
I
okay.
can grab some of these
So she
and put them in the show
mentions
notes.
she had an imaginary friend named Lady Grey, who, okay, can I just do a diversion? Lady Grey is only pictured once, and she is in this like splendid Rococo 18th century gown, which is, I think, one of the things Emily Carroll draws best. And she's got a slit throat, which weirdly
I really
enough,
do want to talk about.
And the ghost will have that later. But like, oh my God, look at the sleeves on this dress. Like the actual way that those sleeves were constructed is that they're pleated and not gathered, which you can see here.
Yeah, I mean, like the amount of, I mean, even for the armor too, like the armor, as much as it's like hyper exaggerated to make a point, haha, pun, like is also very well put together, and I feel like probably well researched also. Like the book looks good in so many different ways.
Little details, they add up.
Yeah. But Pat, you said you wanted to talk about
A slit throat.
Yeah, so like I was talking about Abby's imaginary friend when she was younger that comforted her has a slit throat, and we see that imagery used again when the ghost of Sheila, or the imagination of what the ghost of Sheila has a wound that she's bleeding onto Abby. One of the first images we see of Abby is her looking at herself in the mirror, and then she plunges her hand into her throat.
Yeah, the page
also,
that made you be like, I'm intrigued by this guy.
Something's happening here. Yeah, and then there's the opening where she says she dreams of dragons, and she defeats the dragon, presumably cutting its throat, and we get an image of her standing in the gore with all the blood and gems dripping from it. So what's up with that? What do you guys think?
Of where she kills the dragon in the beginning?
Well, they're all seem to be imagery of wounds in the throat or nearby, and then either Abby like bathing in it, or like she's
kind of even being like nourished by it a little bit.
Something.
In the Sheila ghost one, or whatever, whoever's ghost we've decided that is.
I mean, I guess when people are like fantasizing about suicide, low key, maybe they'll just do it over and over again the same way. I'm also thinking like we know that her mom is dead. We do not know how. When dentist man, what's his name?
David
comes back the night that he drowns.
Mm.
He's like, "Oh, your mom was always like passing out in the bathtub." So I'm wondering, like, maybe her mom died in the bathtub and like killed herself there, and that's why she's conflating some stuff.
Maybe. But it's a repeated imagery that Abby has. And
Yeah.
the dragon, we're thinking, is her interpretation of her mother,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because
Like
her sister
the
refers
smoke
to as the
picture.
old dragon. We get a glimpse of her seated in a chair with a cigarette.
But she becomes the dragon eventually. There's a part where like her armor kind of warps when she's wearing
Yeah,
it. You can see it's got
a tongue.
dragon jaws.
And
Well,
there's
so I read that as like kind of the number her mother has done on her, right? Like all of us are shaped by our parents in some way, shape, or form. So like there's some amount of her mother in there. Like so much like her mother clearly like did not approve of her sexual identity. I feel like she did
Whoa, I
know
don't
at
know
least
about
some point.
clearly. I don't think she even realizes that she has uh feelings for other women until
I mean, even if she didn't explicitly not approve, like something there, Abby is like, this is not okay because my mom thinks it's not okay. I don't know if it's like an explicit like talk they had, or it's just something that like she just like decided as a child from how her mom acts, or what. Like, but
page 191, by the way.
for which,
For the I guess this won't help you, Matt. Where the
no,
armor just sort of morphs into a dragon.
yeah, I mean,
And
like
I guess like
so.
that's the weird star eye kind of moves around too. Like the dragon used to have it, and then she has it by the end.
So
yeah,
what I actually thought you were talking about was the like I guess it's like fourth to last page or whatever, where you see the image of the like ghost that is kind of Sheila, kind of her sister, her like image of herself as the knight in the armor with that like weird dragon tail tongue. Like that's what I thought you were talking about. And then the hag and then the dragon. And like that page to me was very much like showing that all of these weird imaginings that Abby has of this fantastical world like are actually all part of her, like that she hasn't dealt with completely and like she's externalized
Oh,
in these weird ways, like she's the beautiful princess, she's the knight, she's the hag, she's the dragon, like, and they're all just like
oh,
bits
that's
and pieces of her.
interesting. I read them as like Ghost Abby, and the eyes getting bigger for the Abby one.
Yeah, which I mean, like, part of the cool part of this book is I think there's different interpretations to be had for sure. But like, it just kind of struck me reading through it yesterday that seemed like the best one to me, and it plays into my theme of like not like you only know other people so well, and like you even only know yourself so well. Like Abby's doing this to herself, and I think doesn't even realize it, kind of, and like doesn't understand that all these pieces are part of her and how they're all interconnected. So
Okay, Pat, why is there a picture of the weird nest of colored pencils and
that's
papers?
the yeah. So that's the only evidence that I have that it might be a ghost. That was the only thing that I felt couldn't be explained away. Like, why is she finding a nest of torn up pages and
Oh,
broken pencils?
I mean,
well, that's
Crystal
just
doesn't
Crystal
really
stuff,
feel like
right?
doing art anymore after that, so maybe she's just like, I'm done with this. Though, yeah, it's
Alright.
very clearly a picture of, once again, the way that Abby pictures Sheila, because it's how she's always being drawn with the blood crying eyes and the long blonde hair.
Yeah. Yeah, the blood crying eyes are weird. Like, I don't know how those factor in. She's still
I
dripping
mean,
wet from swimming over. I don't know.
yeah, also, she doesn't have blonde hair, does she?
She
No,
does. Sheila has blonde hair.
well,
Not
not at the
actual
moment.
Sheila.
Yeah, she does. She gets her roots touched up so that it's brown because
Oh, when
she's
she
living in
visited her in the
disguise.
beginning?
Hmm.
Yeah, but. Okay.
I mean, I don't know why it would be blonde unless like she can't see her
I
mom.
mean, she only sees her at night, right? And like no lights and stuff, so maybe she just thinks it's. I don't know. Who knows? That's my take,
That's,
at least.
that's weird.
It's art.
That's weird.
So, who do you think might be the counterfeiters of the like low-key subplot of counterfeit bills?
I
What are you
think the
guys
other.
talking about?
I think
Wait,
possibly
really?
the dentist might be. I don't know. I'm not sure if
Are
it's
you talking about
what.
the grocery store dealing with counterfeit money?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
So
reason that Abby goes home early is because her boss is like, "Oh, it was exciting by your place last night, right? They found the counterfeiting ring.
well,
It's
she
in the
was just
house
there to
next
pick up
door."
her paycheck anyways
Uh,
that day because she was
Yeah,
gonna go home. But
she left early to go home because she was like, "Wait, what? What do you mean that this lady I've been talking to doesn't live in this abandoned house?"
oh yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. So like, there's this counterfeiting thing that's been going on, and like the reason I think it's at least Mr. Brad, and maybe all three of them, I don't know, is like,
Why would
hey,
dentists need to do counterfeit money?
maybe they're not dentists. Well, I mean, one of them's at least a dentist. I don't know.
They're dentists. Dentists would totally. Have you seen the what's that thing with the Seymour the plant?
Little
Oh,
Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, the dentist in that. Awesome.
really good, actually.
Everyone told him he was going to be a dentist.
Yeah, or
That's
that Matthew
pain.
Perry Bruce Willis movie where the dentist is like, "Don't worry, I'll do some dental work so that this body then the car is going to look like the body you want it to look like." Dentists are tricky, man.
Dentists are shady.
I just took it because there's that one scene where they're explaining the counterfeit money problem to Abby at the store, and she like gives the tray of money like a look. I interpreted that as it's another instance of Abby like, I'm a counterfeit. I'm pretending to be something that I am not. That's all I took from it, is that Abby's just like, oh, well,
Oh, Abby
I'm
was the
fake.
counterfeiter the whole time.
Well, I think that's just Abby just once again looking down on herself because she's not. No matter how hard she's trying to fit in to be the perfect wife, she isn't, and it's she's starting to break.
So this is an unessential piece of story, but this is kind of what I pieced together yesterday, like in my own murder board construction, is like, so when David comes home drunk, he's talking about how Brad and Mrs. Brad were like arguing something about money or whatever, and like then you find out late, like the next day, that something had gone on with the counterfeiters, and like he's strangely home late when he's never home late. Like, so I feel like something like I feel like they were the counterfeiters, and like they were like on the lam for the night, and like that's why he was late. Again, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter, but that's what makes sense to me.
I thought he was just making too many mother-in-law jokes.
He says something about like they've been arguing about money.
Oh my gosh.
So, and again,
I mean,
like,
and David is a known liar. He's like, my wife died from cancer.
Herself. Wait, no. Why would you tell different people different things, man? What was I gonna say? Oh, so, and that kind of like, the reason that fits for me too is it kind of plays into my theme of like, you only know people so well, right? Like her husband might be a counterfeiter and she didn't even know. Like all that, like the dentists might have been the counterfeiters and no one else knew. Like just because they have this veneer of respectability or whatever. Like, so it's a possibility. I'm not 100% on that one, but it makes sense in my murder board connections.
Okay, can we talk about how the beautiful, like, pregnant wife, Mrs. Brad. Also, when you guys read Brad, do you read it like Rocky Horror Picture? Brad!
I wasn't even sure that was his real name, actually, still at this point, or if
Brad.
we just settled on that. So
yeah, I'm
so
looking at the
I
thing.
didn't use
She's
Brad.
like, oh, did you get enough to eat? And she's like, haha, Brad! Anyway, can we talk about when Abby goes in to get her hair cut? This lady's like, oh yeah, I believe in ghosts. I see a ghost all the time. It's just a creepy face. What is that?
I don't know.
I think it's
That
just
what I hadn't figured out.
a hairdresser talking during cutting hair. I don't know. People believe in ghosts. They like talking about believing in ghosts.
I thought maybe like, okay, well maybe there is a ghostness just hanging around looking for sad ladies to give it some power or something. I don't know.
So if there is a ghost,
Maybe.
you guys think it's a ghost of a specific person? Because I'm still, I think on Train there is no ghost. It's all in Abby's mind. But
Yeah, I'm not. Like I said, the only evidence that I had was the torn up stuff underneath the thing. But yeah, it makes more sense that Crystal just
dismissed
I think there could be a ghost.
out of hand. You guys are like, no, that's stupid, and so I have no evidence for ghosts anymore.
I mean, I think you were like, it's inexplicable, and we were like, well, this is inexplicable.
And then you explicit it, and
we
so it's gone.
explicted.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
I mean, what crashed through the glass door when Abby was in the attic?
That's inexplicable. That away.
A raccoon or something, potentially?
A raccoon making a lady-shaped hole?
Is it lady?
I mean, the hole's not lady-shaped.
It's not like a cartoon cut
she
out
just
of Bugs
Kool-Aid
Bunny.
man her way out of there.
They do talk about bears a couple times, so it could have been a bear, I suppose. But it does look like the glass is from outside to inside.
There's like scratches along the left side.
Maybe. So I actually
No, I think
was
that's just
wondering if it
glass.
was.
Oh,
I actually was wondering if that was Sheila, but real Sheila coming like in the house. Now that you
Oh,
mentioned the glass
maybe.
on the other side,
But
what?
yeah,
And she just
because
like, pulls a Michael Scott and runs right through the door
the
because she
glass
hears.
is so something burst from inside the house out.
and lets them inside.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
definitely
don't know.
was inside. You can see from the
So
glass shards they painstakingly show.
yeah,
Yeah, raccoon. I don't know.
A
While we're on
raccoon was
that
trapped
sequence,
in the
though,
house. Come on, man. You're trying too hard to explain it away.
I mean, it could have been. It could actually be other Sheila, like real
What's
Sheila.
the what's the thing that Sherlock Holmes says like when all other possibilities have been exhausted, what remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
I feel like we haven't exhausted all other possibilities, given how
Raccoon trapped in
unreliable
the
it
house,
is.
huh?
Didn't trip it, ran
okay.
and
Here's an
spoke with
idea. Do you think
glass.
maybe Abigail is so out of it that she is talking to real Sheila at night when she
No.
thinks she's talking to the? Okay, well, never mind.
I mean I
So
don't
I'm
think
willing to
so.
discuss the
It's
possibility,
possible,
though.
yeah. Convince me.
Unlike some of us.
I mean, it's the whole conversation she has with Ghost Abby about my paintings are in the attic. He kept them. And
So
then she
that's
forces her
actually
to go up to the attic and look, and then the ghost gets real upset with her when she finds out he sold or got rid of my paintings. And then it is literally Abby like getting pissed at her, freaking out, and then dashing. Like I'm trying to explain why there's a giant hole in their
the
glass
giant hole in
door.
the thing.
And I think it might be Abby just lost it. Like, I don't know. Like, not Abby, I'm sorry. Sheila is literally there talking to Abby.
Two things on that, I guess. One, that's like one of my biggest pieces of evidence in my mind for the fact that there's not a ghost is the fact that the ghost was surprised about that. Because
Right.
like, why would the ghost be surprised about that if it was a real ghost? That's super weird. I think it's like Abby had decided in her mind that they were up there, and then when they weren't up there, her weird imaginings had to figure out why the ghost wouldn't know, and so the ghost got super pissed. That's point one.
But I
Point
mean,
two,
real Abby or real Sheila wouldn't say he killed me when obviously he didn't kill her.
I mean, maybe
So,
not. I don't know. That lady's not all there, all there either. It doesn't seem like so. But we can talk about that when we get closer to actually discussing the ending, I guess. But like, point two, I really love that sequence where she goes up to the attic because I think the pacing is done really well, and I think that's one of like two or three double page splashes in the book. Is that page where you
Yeah.
like turn the page and then suddenly the attic is just huge and it's filled by the ghost Sheila and
The
she's like
ghost just
full hag
flips
form
out.
and like cursing at Abby and like calling her like a a whore wife or something like that. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but like
pathetic bitch,
My
stupid
murderer's
cow.
whore.
yeah, my murder like just goes real hard like that. Like I think that sequence is paced so well and like again, like coming from I read bullshit superhero comics and there's a double page splash like every other page because they think it's fun and they want to let artists sell art. Like using a double page splash like that impactfully is always very cool to me, where it's like it's actually building to a moment and then the moment pays off as opposed to it's just kind of there. Like that was very cool. But I don't think it's real Sheila. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out
Figure it
what
out, yeah.
broke through the glass because
Welcome to the murder board, Pat. I think I was texting you today, and you were like, "What clues? What are you idiots trying to decipher?" It's like, "Oh, you'll know when we get there."
I guess I get now why there was a whole panel just showing the glass on the outside because I was like, oh yeah, it's a ghost. But some people would be like, oh, somebody just threw a rock through the window. So that had to be there to be like, no, it came from the inside.
It's a bear-sized hole, you guys. It could be a bear.
It is not a bear-sized hole.
I mean, it
Maybe a baby
could be.
bear. A bear is like, I don't know, 3 Labrador retrievers, maybe
But there doesn't
4.
seem to be anything else in the kitchen that's messed up. So I don't think it's. I think it is Sheila like desperately trying to get out of the house because she was in the house.
Yeah, it could be that too. Although, why she wouldn't just unlock?
Why
the
wouldn't she just use the
leave?
door?
No one knows. I think
Something
it's a
just I
raccoon.
think it was a ghost. Okay, so here's my idea is that it is a ghost and it just changes cuz like she Abby was saying after her sister died she used to see her standing in doorways and I think one of the spookiest scenes in here is where she first sees the ghost when that like ding-a-ling thing goes and it's exactly the same thing. It's just like
So that's another piece
standing in
of
the
evidence to
doorway.
me for how it's not really Sheila's ghost because it's the exact same Like it's acting the exact same as what she thought
Yeah,
her
no,
sister's
but
ghost
then
looked
I
like.
think she's being haunted by a ghost, and her imagination just makes it like so that she can talk to the ghost. Because the ghost is all like, it's been a long time since anyone saw me as a princess. So it's
So
probably
do
like a weird
you,
ghost that makes people crazy.
I was gonna say, do you think it's a specific ghost from like Abby's life, or do you think it's just a ghost, like the
I
ghost
think it's
that's
just
going
a
to the house?
ghost.
You're like, okay, all right, just
I also
curious.
thought it was interesting when Crystal shows her the tale of Sir Gallipeg, and she's all like, "Oh, I remember that ending. It was so sad. I cried." And Crystal's like, "He doesn't die at the end." If you like look on page 104, I feel like that's
Establishing
kind of what
how
it looks like.
unreliable a narrator Abby is, I think,
Well,
is what I filed that under.
Well, it's
I think
also
she
her
sees it.
imagining the book over and over again and it changing. So
She's having this like fantasy about hanging out with this girl with her shirt half unbuttoned under a tree, and then Dragon steps on her. I bet that's what happens in her version of the
well,
Sir
is the
Gallipeg book.
dragon stepping on her, or is the girl turning into a dragon?
Oh, stepped on her. There's a dragon's foot there all of a sudden, and
But there's no
just a bunch of
girl in those
robes.
clothes. Yeah. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
and there's a great big tongue. I don't know.
So it's also weird, right, that like if the timeline is what Abby has pieced together as for the Sheila thing, Sheila either like has some sort of weird psychotic break and leaves and or kills herself. Well, I guess doesn't kill herself, but
Doesn't kill
she
herself.
decides to tell people that she killed herself. So that thing
There,
happens, and then there's a fire. Maybe that's part of what happened, and then they move across the country.
there was a bit when I was reading the book the first time where I was trying to decide whether the person who was saying she was Sheila was even Sheila, but I decided that that's a stupid idea on the second read.
You think a crazy woman who wants to take the daughter?
Yeah, who just wants a kid. Like, yeah, for a second I thought maybe, but like, I don't think that's.
She
I don't
is a
think that's
crazy
the case.
person. I mean, she's like, where was she living if it wasn't in that weird abandoned
It
house?
definitely was, right? And she talks about how she's like, so again, the unreliability of people and like how they present themselves and like how they're seen by other people. While we're on this, like Abby, let's Beth go watch her kid. She's met this lady twice. Once was on the side of the road. Like what the hell? You're just sending this woman to watch your kids because you think she's like this perfect suburb or like I don't know, like
Yeah, because she's like, I
what
don't bother asking how many kids she has. Everyone looks exactly the same, and they all have a bunch of kids, and they act the same. So she's
wild
like,
She's the
yeah,
thing.
standard
perfect,
mom.
yeah,
Clearly set
perfect
in the 90s and
soccer
before
mom.
we've gotten into full stranger danger mode. Um, B,
Yeah.
like Sheila talks about how she's not a bad person, but she made some mistakes. And like when I hear someone say that, especially when they're like breaking into someone's house at the time, I'm like, well, that might be how you see it, but I'm curious to know like what other people's interpretation of those sentences would be. Like, I don't know. Sheila seems like she's still got a lot going on.
It's interesting that she's like, okay, so you killed my ex-husband. I'm gonna let that slide. We're just gonna go.
Well, they didn't like each other, so
Yeah. I guess in the moment you can't be like, well, I'm you're probably gonna get punished, and I'm gonna tell people.
I mean, also she's like there, and she thinks that Abby could kill again, probably too, as we see by she picks up the knife pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She also has her daughter upstairs that she's trying to keep
Yes.
calm. That's another question. Who do you think Crystal is referring to when she runs and yells mom?
So that's a
She's
big
made a
part of the
point
ending,
of
right?
she's never called Abby her mom.
Yeah, I think it also has to be Sheila, like especially when reading it because the person crying out initially when Crystal says mom calls her Chris, and that's a thing that Sheila does. It's not a thing that Abby does, as far as I am aware. I didn't notice it.
Hmm.
So I'm
All
pretty
right.
sure she's calling out for her actual mom. Although it's definitely written in such a way to make you think about it, because I definitely had the same thoughts on the first read, and I was like, who is she even calling for? I think it's her actual mom.
I think it might be Abby, but that's okay.
That's fair. I mean, again, I think it's written to encourage both
Ambiguous.
interpretations.
I feel like they've connected enough.
Yeah. I feel like the first time I read it, the fact that Abby wasn't seeing the real ghost of Sheila was such a like wrench that I was just like, wait, what is happening for the ending?
Yeah, it
But
really
now,
throws you, right?
yeah, but now like reading through it again, I'm like, okay, again, searching for clues, making my murder board. And when Sheila stops by and is like, "What up? I live next door. My name definitely isn't Sheila." It's like these little things she does about the house. Like, "Hey, look at that lighthouse
That
picture. That looked
painting.
better in the front of the house." And like, "You idiot, why is this chime mounted on the wall? Put it on a door." Pretty sure
And
that's
she's
for a door.
like she's very forceful in a way that like when you read it initially, it just reads as like typical like suburb mom, like soccer
Mhm.
mom, like forcefulness. But I think when you read it the second time, you can definitely read it as like she's super nervous. She's in this house. She doesn't want to be found out, but she wants to be in there and get information. So she's just like, don't let the other person talk. Just rattle off stuff. Like just keep it moving. Like so, it's interesting to read it again for the second time for sure.
I read it more as like, "Oh, this is what you're doing with my stuff. You're doing it wrong. What do you mean you put a jingle thing on a wall?" Like
Better outside. Come on.
like that's used to be my jingle thing. It was on the door.
Okay, so the last image of the comic. Let's just take a moment
We
and
go in
try to
there?
interpret
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Wait,
So
the 2-page spread or the one where she's like, "I used to dream."
yeah, no, the very last
I used to
image.
dream of?
No, the 2-page
No,
spread,
not
not
the
the
one
Two-page
you
black
spread.
page with "In I Used to Dream of."
And a star.
Yes, and the star.
There's an art.
which is
Okay.
9.
Yes, let's get to it. The ending.
So we're saying,
I don't know what the hell's going on those pages still, honestly. I looked at that 3 times in the last 2 days. I'm not sure.
well, leading up to it, it's Sheila and Abby struggling with a knife, and Sheila had the knife, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Leading up to it, yeah, it looks like Abby and sort of the ghost of Sheila is struggling with
Yeah, but
actual
again, like, I'm not
clone
sure
No.
how much
Sheila
that ghost actually
Oh wait,
exists.
in the lead up, yeah.
in the lead up. But then the splash screen of what we think is Abby dying shows Sheila, actual Sheila, in
Wait,
sort of
I never thought that was Abby dying. I thought maybe she was stabbing what's her face.
well, okay, look at it.
Yeah,
It's
swords
Sheila.
glistening
It's
on her
ambiguous.
back.
They're both being stabbed, which that's not how that would work.
Yeah, neither of them has a visible knife in their hands at that point, and,
Mm-hmm.
like, more tellingly, Sheila's hands are both visible without a knife in her hand.
Yeah, okay, but Sheila is embracing Abby.
Yep.
Like of the two, Abby's the only one that seems to be in a kind of state of like shock or surprise. Like
What? They're
her
both being
hands.
stabbed.
No, look at the image, Kathryn.
They're not embracing.
Sheila,
Look
yes,
at Sheila's
Sheila's.
hands. She's like grabbing onto this lady.
It's called a hug.
No, it's not. Ladies don't hug like
We
that
don't
unless we're
do those
fighting to
here,
the
Pat.
death.
Ladies don't hug
Even
like that.
like slapping each other's backs repeatedly so that people don't think that they're
Okay,
You think
she's
feminine. Oh, wait.
embracing Abigail, and Abby is the one who's got both. Like she isn't. She's not able to balance in that. She's the one off balance, the one with her hands wide open, her feet off the ground. And then, yeah, the knight who up until this point has been Abby in her imagination is stabbing both of them.
Theoretically,
And
maybe.
the gore from the dragon earlier on is coming out, and there are gems, just like when she defeated the dragon. The
Yep.
dragon's horde spilled out. And they're on a trail of gore that leads back to Ghost Sheila,
The ghost, yeah.
who's sort of
Suddenly
looking-
has turned away and doesn't seem particularly interested.
Well, I think
Right.
is interested doesn't want to watch this.
I don't think she is interested. She's just fixing her hair. Like,
So yeah,
I'm still not
what do
entirely
you
sure
what do you
to
make of
make
it?
that. What really threw me off was realizing that you can see both of Sheila's hands. Like, until, like, because the gore kind of obscures her right hand.
Her right hand.
But, like, when you realize you could see both of Sheila's hands, it's like, what's happening?
I saw it as like Abby sees herself as the knight who is stabbing them both. And you don't see Abby's hand. I feel like she got the knife and she's stabbing Sheila, and that's why Crystal's like, "Oh no, you killed another one of my parents."
Well, Crystal doesn't know that her dad's dead at this point,
Right.
which is also
Maybe?
something.
So you
I
think
mean-
it's So it's Abigail's imagination has killed both Sheila and basically the life that Abby's been trying to lead. If you interpreted that as the normal looking Abby.
Like Abby is not actually being killed here, but like her conceptualization of this life she was building.
The norm, yeah. No one will ever think of her as that person anymore. She's the crazy woman who drowned her husband and stabbed
her husband.
The ex-wife. Yeah, maybe.
So the other take is that somehow they're just embracing, and like that's shattering Abby's like sense of.
It's a weird, like, I don't know what Sheila's doing in that image.
I don't think so either. But now that
they were just screaming like half a second ago. She was like, like, let's be friends.
It's not a violent. Like, they're not struggling in that picture.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
You don't think? I really think that they are.
It's definitely possible that Abby has a knife in her hand and has stabbed Sheila, and Sheila has fallen forward and just tried to grab her.
Sheila is like, she's not hugged. She's like gripping. Like, look at those lines. Her fingers are digging into Abby's back.
It sure would be nice to have oneself right there.
I don't think so.
You just picture it.
Doesn't look like a violent.
I can zoom it in. Hang on, I've opened it in a separate window. I mean, I think either. Like, I could be talked into either, which is unfortunate.
I mean, there it is. It's ambiguous.
Yeah, which I don't know. Like, I'm coming around to liking this book's ambiguity, but like Kat and I have been talking about this on and off for like years at this point. And like I grow lower on ambiguous endings like each year. I feel like overall, like
when they're done well, they're very good. If they're not done well, they ain't great.
Cool, and it definitely like rewards going back to look at the story again in a different and piece together all the connections and try to figure out what's happening. And like I think that really helped me figure out too, like in my mind at least, what the theme of the story is too, and puzzle out that to me there's not even a ghost. Like I don't think there's a ghost.
Can I just say, Matt, I think we were opposite on this because I'm usually just like, yeah, ambiguous endings are the best. And Matt's like, ugh, no. And in this one, he was like, yeah, it works. And I was just like, this is unacceptable. Someone tell me what's going on. Because I feel like her stuff is never this ambiguous.
Like, I think it works a lot for this one, too, because part of the whole thing is like that people are kind of strangers to each other. And like, you can't ever really know entirely what a person is or what they're thinking or who they are. Even when you're like, they're literally married to each other. She knows nothing about this dude almost. Like she doesn't even know like how his wife actually died. Like,
well, she can't talk to him. He's a
man, yes.
Well, no, he's just like kind of scary. You know, like she doesn't know what's going to happen.
I don't know. So like not knowing how the book ends exactly feels like it works for this book, particularly because it's so much about the ambiguity of not knowing what exactly has happened in a person's life. So I'm willing to let this one slide because it's good is where I'm at. Very often these days I just want a person to like tell the story, have an ending, like make it so that the thing is actually a story, and I'm not doing as much of the work of trying to like figure out what happened and also then by proxy solving what the book is about. I think this one ends up working because it kind of is what the book is about, or at least that's my take on it.
Okay, great.
God, you're gonna make me put so many images. That has now sent an image of what a hug looks like for Kat, who has gone hugless her entire life. Apparently,
so sad.
We never hug in this house. Never.
So sad.
Never.
We only
just a firm handshake. Yeah, okay.
I mean, I actually do kind of think it's possible it's a hug now. I hadn't really thought of that. I definitely thought she was just falling forward.
Hold up.
Are you looking up pictures of a stabbing now? We're gonna have to put that in the show notes too.
This is an image titled Pain. Look at those fingers. That's what it looks like to me.
God damn it, you guys. We have to save off so many images at the end of this recording.
Pain.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely does seem like the night is more figuratively killing Abby's sense of the life she was building for herself than actually killing Abby. That I think I'm in for sure. Then it just comes down to like, did they finish their struggle and now they're talking it out, or did Abby stab this lady?
Well, Crystal's not happy with what she's seen, so
Well,
I guess her
her
mom
mom's
holding a
recovering.
dead woman probably wouldn't. The
It's
woman that
just
had been her
ambiguous what
mother,
happened.
which is fine. I think it works for this kind of story.
The
Yeah.
fight beforehand is drawn really well, and like in such a way where like the actions are obscured too. Like the pacing is really frantic, like it's panel, 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 panel,
And you
and
kind of
also
feel
like
like you're there and you can't see because it's like right
yeah,
up in your
everything's being
face.
jostled around, and like you can't quite get a clear like look at like what's happening. Which then again leads beautifully into this, where it's like I don't know what happened. I don't have enough information to figure this out.
Yeah, because we get that one panel that Sheila is still holding the knife. In the next one, we don't know where the knife is. We can't see her hand anymore.
Yeah, there is like at least a panel or two where you lose track of where the knife is and who has it, I believe. Again, don't have the book in front of me, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty
and like, is there blood on that knife? I don't know. It's in grayscale. It could
That
just
is
be
black
swooshing
now.
line, swooshing lines. Because they're like stop, or where she tries to say stop, and then is cut off.
Yeah.
Where the ghost may or may not be holding her head. Like there's a splatter there too.
Yep. Yep.
the contrast
I
of
don't
the
know.
reds and purples and pinks to the grayscale of the normal, mundane, depressing, terrible world is also a very cool choice. Color is used really well throughout.
Yeah, I do like when
Yeah.
it snaps from her fantasy directly to reality, and like the landscape is the same. It just goes like a
Yeah,
sharp
those
cut
pages
from
where it's
color
just
to.
like people are in the same poses and in the same positioning, but it goes from Knightsville to on the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are cool ones. I noted those down too. All right, you guys have anything else you want to talk about with this book? Did we solve the entire murder board, Cat?
I feel like I do understand it better, or at least I've come to a narrative that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I did too yesterday, and like today helped also, but like I definitely feel less irate about it than I did the first time I read it. I read
Yeah.
the ending like 3 times in a row that night because I was like, I gotta figure out what the hell just happened here. Like, is she talking to Abby or is she talking to Sheila? Is like, is someone dead or who killed who? Like, what's going on? Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't. I don't. And like, also, I feel like some of that stuff ended up not mattering as much to me too, as I picked at details of the other bits of the book also. So, who is the guest in the house?
It's a ghost. Maybe.
Or maybe
I
it's
say
Abby.
Abby considered herself to be. Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's
I mean, if
Abby.
it is the ghost and the ghost is Abby's imaginings, then it's definitely so.
Well, I mean, the
Either
fact
way,
that she never considered herself to fit in as a housewife.
yeah,
So she's
As a
only a
person.
guest in the house,
yeah.
her own house. Because then they repeatedly say, "Oh, you haven't. It's your house. You should know what's in your attic."
Oh my god! Literally prompted me to go into my attic because I was like, "I'm in my attic."
Wait
So
a
I went in
second.
my attic. There's a
So help me if
giant
there's
fan
paintings
that
up there.
doesn't work. There's a giant fan that doesn't work. A lot of like insulation stuff strewn about, and like 3 boards to walk on.
Mhm.
Oh, that reminds me real quick of like Sheila is effing unhinged. Because remember at the beginning of the book, Abby was all like, I just love putting things in their special places and putting my coffee mugs away. And then later she's like, did somebody move my coffee mugs around? Sheila's going in there and like rearranging stuff.
This is
I
what
mean,
I'm
she
saying.
took a mug and left it on the
That's where the
dock.
mug went. She left it on the dock.
Yeah, I didn't catch that, man. That's probably
She's
what
just
was
taking
going
their
on.
stuff when she's swimming away. She's like making coffee in there or something. I don't
It
know.
is unhinged that she's just visiting her daughter. Good Lord.
Yeah, in the night, as like at a point where even if Crystal doesn't actually think it's a ghost, she's willing to say it's a ghost. Like what?
Well, I think she doesn't want to explain to get her mother. Like she's
Yeah,
seen her
I guess
father and
maybe
mother
that.
like fight each other, and she doesn't want to get into that.
That page where Crystal's talking about, and this is another thing where like Abby's so unreliable and like doesn't understand what people are saying to her sometimes. Like she just doesn't have a good read on situations. Like she and Crystal are talking, and Crystal's like, she's like, "Oh, don't worry, we weren't fighting. It's fine. It wasn't about you." And like Crystal's like, "Yeah, it's I know." She's like, "Oh, we weren't fighting." He's like, "No, you weren't fighting. Like he fights with me. Like he fought with my mom. He doesn't
That
need
wasn't a
me."
fight. Things weren't broken. That wasn't a fight. Yeah, no, good
Any
comic.
other business to solve?
I think we solved it. We cracked the
All right.
case.
The last thing I wanted to talk about then, just because it's
Uh-oh.
something that I know we did solve it. This just like this is something that came to mind as I was reading it because like Pat for the podcast we read a lot of things that are by like creative teams, like more than one person. Not always. Like Cal's brought a couple other things that are like
Solo.
one person, but like it's very cool to see someone who's basically got their hands on like every aspect of the book from like inks to colors to lettering to pacing to design of the book. Like even the opening crawl of this like really sets the mood. Like it's got a good title page sequence of like
Mhm.
in the house. Like it shows you what you're in for like right away. So like it's very cool to see like a singular vision brought to the page like this. I think there definitely is something more, I don't know, like comprehensive and designed about it in a way that some of the other books we read aren't.
Was there a question there?
Yeah,
I guess
what?
I was just wondering if you guys agree or not. I don't know.
Wait, what was
Like
the
you guys,
question?
I guess like do you guys see a difference in I guess quality is actually what I'm asking in like this even between like a saga or something where like it's two people and they're both very good but like they're two people and they're working separately on the page kind of like it's a team versus like this is Emily Carroll from like nuts to bolts like pen to letters like this is Emily Carroll all the way through like
I mean,
it's a
it's
different thing.
interesting when people like every artist has their own unique style and it's nobody's is ever quite the same. So I would notice a difference if like I read something where Emily Carroll teamed up with someone else. Like, oh yeah, it'd be different flavor. Kind of like Good Omens doesn't read like other Neil Gaiman stories because Terry Pratchett was in there being like, cheer up, this is glum.
Let's make this goofier.
Right? Yeah. So I don't think that you can weigh one against the other. I think they're just different.
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to pinpoint. Like if there were more of an editorial, I don't know, filter for this, would it be any different? I don't know. Maybe.
I do think it's hella more impressive to be able to do all the color, the writing, and the inking, and the text by yourself.
Yeah, there's so many different skills that go into that. Like there's so many, oh my god, there's so many comics that I've bought at like conventions where like it's a good comic and you're reading it and like the lettering just ruins it because the lettering's not good. Like
Mm.
I bought
lettering
one where the art is great and the story is just like, oh god, the artist wrote this and it's not
yes,
good.
that
Yeah.
has varying success for me also.
Although interestingly, you don't usually see the ones where the writer's very good and the art isn't. Because I guess those never make it to print.
I'm trying
Or
to
maybe
think
like
now.
XKCD, like, I'm going to draw stick people. He's actually pretty good at art, though.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's very like it definitely feels like a singular vision and it's well executed in like every aspect and I really enjoy it. I'm also mad that someone can be this good a little bit. Yeah, all right. That's gonna do it for the actual discussion, I think. Do you guys have recommendations for people who like this book or looking for something in the ballpark that they would also enjoy?
Who wants to go first?
I guess I can.
Okay.
I once again have recommendations that aren't of the same medium.
That's fine, Pat.
I'm gonna jump to movies. While reading this, I really had a strong comparisons to the film Crimson Peak. I don't know if either of
Is
you
that
watched
the
that
one
with Tom
the
Hiddleston.
lady? Yeah.
It's a ghost story with a very similar type of ghost, and it's got a similar. Actually, dripping red is very common because they're at a house.
That one actually, I'm looking it up.
I saw like the first half of it.
It's very reminiscent of this comic. So if you like the tones of this, it's not quite the same sexual identification trauma kind of stuff, but it's got a ghost. There's a twist. There's lots of dripping red stuff all over the place.
And
So the
excellent
imagery is very
costumes.
similar. Yeah, it's fun. And then another one where it's a fantastic world that you at the end aren't sure if it's real or not, and you got to make that choice for yourself, is Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh.
Where it's got very similar creepy imagery that this young girl escapes into to get away from the horrors of reality of World War II in Spain. And yeah, that one has an ending where It could be really happy or it could be really sad. You get to decide.
2 Guillermo del Toro films, eh?
Yep.
Cool. I've been meaning to rewatch Pan's Labyrinth also,
Okay.
actually.
A quick note. I think Pan's Labyrinth is about the Spanish Civil War, not World War II.
Maybe. I thought it was World War II. Maybe I was wrong. It's been a while. All right, Kathryn.
Yeah, I think it's time for a rewatch of that one. I've been meaning to do that for a while. Okay, so my recommendations, I decided to stick to the comic medium, I suppose. First, of course, Emily Carroll has other stuff out there that all has the same similar sort of like artistic vibe, spooky vibe, more psychological thriller sorts of things. Books and of course the website. There's lots of stuff there. One of the things on the website is actually a prequel story for a story that is featured in a later book that she does, which is pretty cool. And then for web comics that again take pretty good use of the flexibility that using the web for your comic provides, Lore Olympus is a pretty good one. It also has kind of a similar like colorful scale, very different content. It's not a horror movie. It's a it's a romance set in the what if the Greek gods were really colorful and they lived kind of like modern people do. But it's just really pretty and it's cool because I think this happens sometimes with webcomics. You can see the artist develop their skills as the thing goes on. So you read the first couple and you're like, well, this is okay. I can kind of get past the shaky art, and then by the end it's like, no, you're just showing off. Come on. And then for horror comics, I suppose the name that a lot of people seem to really like is Junji Ito. They're more of a manga style, and they are. I think they're kind of longer.
There's
Maybe
short
than this
ones.
one.
There's a bunch of
There's
them
some
in
short
it.
ones.
There's usually like a bunch of them in the same book when I find them. Like they're
Yeah,
a collection of different stories.
the ones I've read are a collection of stories, but they're all stories about the same theme. Like one of them is like spirals, and they're all just stories
Yeah.
about creepy spiral.
Yeah, you must have seen the one that's "This Hole Was Made for Me." Like
Oh,
Yeah.
the pumpkin.
that's a Junji Ito one. No, in the side of the cliff face or whatever.
No, somebody did it as a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. It's like a
I'm sure
meme
they
or
did,
something
yeah.
now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
I've
those
not
are
read
like
them, but I know of them, yeah.
black and white, not a great use of color sort of thing. Well, I mean, obviously it's not what he's designed it for, but if you're like, I want to
It's
see
not
pretty
the
colors,
same.
if you're in it for the pretty colors, read Lore Olympus. If you're in it for the spooky, read Junji Ito. Or maybe just like swap a short story between.
My recommendation is "The Nice House on the Lake" by James Tynion, Alvaro Martinez Bruno, a bunch of other
You didn't
people.
practice that name, did you?
I didn't. I actually
Oh,
didn't
wait, that
even
was
look
several
at.
names.
I didn't look at it though, so I think it's pretty good for not having looked
Okay.
at the comic in like months. um,
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out there.
that's okay. I mean, I'm the best Spanish speaker in the world, as we've established.
I don't think
I have
James
to
is a
say.
Spanish name.
I said James correctly, I think. Anyways, Nice House on the Lake is a horror story. It's got a similar vibe to this in that it's like much more of a creepy, psychological, unsettling horror. It actually, I hadn't even really thought about this yesterday when I was thinking about it, but like it also has a little bit of the theme of like how well do you know the people around you? Because like the main instigator of the story is someone who's friends with like all these people have been gathered at this nice house on the lake for the weekend, and then shit happens, like shit hits the fan from there, and like it's got a very slow burn, like relationship driven between the characters kind of horror, so it kind of fits with this to me. Like it's telling more of a psychological story than a, again, like attack you in the face horror story. It actually, I did flip through it like very quickly before we started the podcast, and I noticed it does a similar thing with the title card page, like in the same way that this has the like slow a guest in the house. Like every chapter of Nice House has the title like scrawl or whatever of Nice House on the Lake, like reflected on the water of the lake. So there's definitely similar sensibilities in there. The art's a bit different. There is some nice use of color. It's not like this though. So like it's not artistically, it's a little different, but it definitely has the same vibes. So
Cool.
I think you would like it, Pat.
I'll take a look.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for doing this deep murder board discussion of A Guest in the House. As always, if you want to get in touch with Pat or myself, you can email us at waitingonthetrade@gmail.com. You can also find more comics-related goodness, including a semi-popular blog post about Emily Carroll's Through the Woods at mattreadscomics.com. Kathryn, thank you. I feel like we should have done this forever ago, but this was a good book to do it with, so I guess we couldn't have done it till roughly now.
Wow.
Amazing.
Perfect ending right there.
Thanks, guys. This was really fun. This was a story that I think merited like 2 or 3 reads. So the podcast was a perfect way to discuss all our clues and theories. You can disassemble your murder board now, Pat.
I think all 3 or 4 that I brought up, you too quickly said, no, that's not it. So
Well, you didn't read closely enough.